My name is Benny Johnson. As some of you know, I've been struggling with addiction. However, I decided to change my life and went into recovery. I've started this podcast 90 Days Clean, and I want to take you along in my journey. What does lie ahead of me? Let me be frank, I do not know. Will I ever drink again? I do not know. This is how Stairway to Redemption was born. It is my search for answer in a real-time process of what is going to work for me. It is then my aspiration to help you figure out what's going to work for you. It is our journey together. Hey guys, Benny here from Stairway to Redemption. This week I'm releasing a special episode that was available on the Patreon page back in April when I released it. It's a roundtable episode where I'm joined by the usual suspects, Katie and Rich, to discuss various topics related to recovery. I hope you're gonna enjoy it. On another topic, if you listen to the last solo episode, you know that I will be away for my first solo sober trip next week. That means no episode next Friday and the one after. I will be back with some fresh content Friday the 30th. Alright guys, stay safe and I will see you in 3 weeks. Please enjoy this episode. Bye. Welcome to Stairway to Redemption, a special episode today. Today we have one of the roundtable episode, similar to episode 9. If you remember, you work until it doesn't. I think I'm gonna probably name it the same way, or like you work until it doesn't, part 2 of I don't know how many. But I plan on making those roundtable episodes so often, maybe once a month, to talk about the things that work in our recovery and the things that don't. If you remember last time we had our friend Joe and Rich. Rich is back. Rich, hi.
Hi. Happy hump day.
Happy hump day. And we have Katie. Katie from episode, I believe, on Relapse. Was that episode 11? Or I don't
I feel like it was 11. 11 came into my head.
Yeah, 11, yeah. So Katie, so you guys, if you heard the podcast, you heard them before. And yeah, so today we're going to talk about things that work and things that don't, and what happened in our recovery. So like usual, we're going to start with the state of the mind address. I'm going to give the floor to Katie. Katie, so what's new with you lately?
What's new with me lately? I remember last time, I don't think I even said that I had a son, and I really feel bad about that. I have a beautiful son who is 10 years old, and he is on the spectrum, and I'm very proud of him, so I want to mention that. And what's going on with me is I'm taking care of him with my whole family, which is exhausting, but I have my whole family. I'm going to school. I'm going to graduate soon.
All right.
Finally going to get my bachelor's degree that I started like 15 years ago. And I'm working my recovery.
And it was in March, if I remember, both your birthdays. Your birthday are, 2 days apart, right?
Yeah, a week apart, exactly.
A week apart.
Yes, on the Ides of March. And he is the 22nd, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it's a busy month. So,
Nice.
Yeah.
Super too. What about you, Rich?
What about me? 254 days today sober. 8 months, 11 days, whatever. Just completed a program of study for the peer advocacy recovery coach training. So then I can do peer advocacy with other recoveries and help them out and tell them what works for me, and more or less also a resource guide for if they need any services of any type. They could, and then if not, the where I'd be working, they would have the resources. So if I couldn't provide it, then I could have a lot of information at my fingertips to help these people. Not these people, I hate saying that, but like helping people like myself.
Yeah. the thing about peer advocacy is also you need to be in recovery to be a peer advocate, right?
Yes.
Is there a minimum on sobriety before being a peer advocate?
Well, they took me after 6 months for the application. Now I'm at 8 months where I just completed the schooling, which was like 1 week, 5 days, 9 to 4. And then the next week was 3 days of ethics, 9 to 4. But so now I'm at 8. And then by the time everything, all the, volunteer, or if I work, I'll have a year.
Oh, okay.
By the time everything's, so they're not worried about that. That's what they did say. They usually like people a year, but they started me at 6 months. They were blown away by my application. I don't know. I still don't know what I said on it. I told the truth because I always do that.
Probably it.
It's always good. The truth is great. Then you don't have to think, what is it?
You don't have to remember anything if you don't lie.
Yeah,
Mark Twain said that or something.
Like if you lie, you're like, what did I say?
Yeah, you need to remember your lies.
So that's great. Yeah, it is a year. And so by the time everything gets done, and I have to go in this week, that woman that called, the phone call where I got, she wanted to set up a post school interview to just give me my certificates and then to discuss what's next.
So what you have to do now, you have to put some hours in?
You could do 500 hours or you could work, and that would count towards the 500 hours.
Okay.
To get, I think you get SERPA right now, special recovery. I'm not exactly sure what it stands for. And then there's SERPA P, and that's like a step above, and that's where you get the fun. They're going to explain. They didn't really go over that. They're going to explain everything on the post interview, but they wanted to make sure we got the education in first.
And there was a test too, right? You took that.
Then I have to take a test.
You have to take a test. Okay, that's cool.
But they said that they don't know anybody that's failed it. So I'm pretty sure it's a fool.
Is that good?
Everything.
Yeah, I don't want to be the first one. That's not something you want to be the first of.
Well, to touch on that, actually, I'm graduating and I'm applying to graduate school to get my MSW in social work.
Okay.
And you have to write the letters and everything, right? And I actually have to talk to Fran because I really pride myself on being honest. I feel like that's how I stayed sober for so long. But I'm like, should I tell them that I'm in? Because it's like, why do you want to do this? And it's like, because I'm in recovery. I want to help people. Like that's, but I have to talk to Fran actually. She actually recommended that I do it.
Yeah.
So Fran's the director here. So I don't know.
Because it's always great, I think, with Don, and then they might say, oh, wow, that's great. Now we can put you here, here, or here,
Yeah.
And probably could work to your advantage, definitely.
I need me some scholarships. So that's why I'm like.
That was the thing with this, that it was like $500, but I got a scholarship for it.
Wait, you apply for a scholarship for
Well, through Deborah Webster.
Okay. Of course, I'm a peer advocate here.
Yeah. And then, I mean, I think, but they said, there's a scholarship program, but it does cost that much. But
that's interesting. That's this gonna lead us to the first questions of this. We talked about it in group recently. How public are you with your recovery? Like you were talking, Katie, about writing the letters to get your application for grad school, and how public are you really with like disclosing that you're in recovery with the people outside?
Well, I post a link to this on my Facebook page. So everybody who knows me, I'm like, this is who I am. My Facebook page is private. So, and then I think we were talking about it in group. I actually recently went on a date, which I should not have done anyway. But he asked me out randomly, and that's like very rare.
Yeah.
And
we're going to report that too, but keep going.
But like, I was trying to like trickle truth. I was trying not to really get too into it because everybody told me not to. Like, it's none of his business. And he wound up knowing one of my ex-boyfriends, and it just kind of had to come out. And I just realized, I'm like, I never want to do this again where I'm sitting here trying to hide who I am from somebody ever, and any person really. let alone like someone I'm trying to like date. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and it just made me realize that I'm just never doing that. I'm going to be upfront about it. It's just easier. Like you said, it's easier. If I'm not, I'm not going to lie. So it was a very evasiveness going on. Like, it's just like a gray area.
Yeah. But when he took you out, did he take you out to like a place where there's stuff out? Did he say like, let's grab coffee or let's grab a drink?
He said, let's grab a drink. And I said, I don't drink.
Oh, okay.
So he knew, I feel like, it wasn't like a bomb on him or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't get into detail, which is the first for me. Usually I'm like, hey, want to hear about everything I ever did? So I don't know. But I just feel like I think that, first of all, I shouldn't be dating, whatever. And I think that the people that I connected with the most in terms of dating have been people that understand addiction. And I think for me, going forward, I'm thinking about this experience and I'm like, maybe that is going to be like a requirement for me going forward, because I feel like if you don't understand addiction, which is really hard to understand from the outside because we look like idiots. Like, and I know we're not idiots, but it's just like, why can't you just stop doing drugs? If they don't understand that on some level, either they have a family member or they've done it themselves, I feel like they're just not going to get me. And I look back and I think a lot of, like for my ex-husband, like the reason things kind of fell apart quickly is he just didn't understand me on a level anymore once I started having problems with addiction.
Yeah, I see. All right, we're gonna circle back to that
And I
because
don't
that's
think I
part of
understand
it.
recovery or addiction. What do I do?
Yeah, but what about you? Like, I mean, you're a peer advocate, so like you're gonna have to disclose unless
I just bought a whole new line of shirts,
Yeah.
sweatshirts with the scarlet letter instead of A for adult or A for alcohol. No, I'm kidding.
That's something that you will do, though.
But you know I would do that.
Yeah, you will
But
do that.
I freely tell it. I don't have a problem. I don't just come out
Mm-hmm.
and say I'm an alcoholic.
Yeah.
But if the topic comes up, I play by ear because it depends.
It depends. Yeah.
And it does until it doesn't.
Yeah.
But, because some people I remember when I first got sober, I told them, and they were like, you're not an alcoholic. 'Cause
Yeah.
I drink just as much as you. And that leads to you saying, all right, I could drink again.
Mm-hmm.
So I tested the waters with that. And then some people who were close to me, I'm just like, it just got bad.
Yeah.
I just, I just stopped drinking because it just was a little too much for me. And that's understanding. But then other people, I'm just like, yeah, I'm a full-blown 5-star alcohol.
5-star alcohol.
I say alcohol's not a good look on me. That's what I
Yeah.
have to say.
Yeah, you can say that. And then it's, but I don't have a problem telling people. Well, now that I'm a peer advocacy coach, of course, you can't not say you're not. But like strangers, someone I meet or whatever, I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
Actually, it was weird because I called a client of mine because she's just a good resource.
Mm-hmm.
And I needed some help for a friend of mine and figured maybe she could lead me. And all of a sudden she told me that she was 18 years in recovery. And then I told her and she was like, that's amazing. She's like, I know that, I told her about my whole thing about helping. And she's like, that fits you. Because I do, insurance, but specifically Medicare now. I do all insurance, but, Medicare. And she's like, yeah, you're very helpful. And she's like, I could see you doing that. Yeah. And that I thought it would be weird to just tell the client, but it's the right client.
But then in your business, sometimes you need to meet people around, like, to sell them like insurance or to explain them. Like before, I guess you were like taking them to lunch, to dinner, like
lunch or dinner,
Now, how is it?
It's coffee.
Now it's coffee. Yeah.
Cheaper.
Yeah.
It's definitely cheaper than like
the diner for a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
But I know I'm drinking a lot more coffee now.
Yeah. Because I cannot imagine like people who usually are salesmen, like, whether it's in the insurance business or like those business like real estate, like they always take
Oh,
the
yeah.
client out for drinks, for stuff.
Yeah.
Most companies even have like a separate like
The separate, yeah.
bank account for that, or like a budget. Yeah,
I'm
budget.
thinking about Mad Men. I've always watched Mad Men, and they were drinking all the time, and they were working. I'm like, how do you not fall asleep?
Yeah, like sales. Yeah, like
They were doing all sorts of stuff that would all,
Yeah.
I know, right?
the sexual harassment. I don't
Well, that
think
that leads one
that-
to the other.
Oh yeah, the alcohol,
Yeah.
the smoking,
Yeah.
the everything.
Different
But
one.
yeah, I mean, with the because there's still functions where it's like come and hear a presentation, and it's not meeting clients, but come see a presentation on this, and you can come, a cocktail hour or whatever.
Yeah, no, even when I was in the tech world, it was the same thing. Presentation, then after the presentation is over, it's like
Yeah,
that
that's
hour.
why it's like at a place, at a restaurant or whatever, and so that's something you got to watch too.
I went to the NA convention recently, and it was at a hotel, right?
Yeah.
And I think the AA convention is the same
Yeah,
place.
yeah, that
And
was the
as
same
soon as
place,
you
yeah.
walk in, there's just like a giant bar, like
Yeah,
a giant
yeah,
bar
yeah.
full of alcohol, like everything surrounding it. And it's like, I mean, I was fine, but I'm like, maybe we should like cover this up or something. Like, this is like so bad that I know we probably couldn't get
Because
it.
they had one last year at the Marriott in Uniondale.
Yeah.
For Jones Beach group. They ran a big AA type thing.
Yeah, but I think like the hotel, if they don't rent the hotel, they cannot ask for that, because when I was there for the AA convention, there was still like other people there who were there for like with the weddings, and stuff. So I'm sure like they couldn't like just hide the bar and stuff. But I'm sure people behave for the most part.
Well, I think it would be pretty bad, like you're in front of all these people and you're like, oh, hey. But
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I mean, I have a podcast. So to go back to the question about being public with it, I'm pretty public with it. Outside of people who, when I go to the gym, my kickboxing trainer, he knows. It's funny because, we had like, Christmas, like get together party at a restaurant. And when I was there, like, I wasn't drinking, obviously. People ask me why. I'm like, I'm in recovery. I don't tell my whole story and stuff. I have my podcast. Also, I told my trainer because I was trying to look for a potential guests who is in recovery and also a fitness coach, to talk about the benefits of fitness for somebody who is in recovery. And funny enough, my coach, dad is struggling with alcoholism, so he knows that environment pretty well. And himself, my coach is not in recovery. He drinks, but like really much less because of, having a dad who is in the alcoholic and stuff. But like every time when I talk to the few people in my kickboxing group that I talk to, like they know that I don't drink. That's not a big deal. But like recently I was at a friend's engagement party. Friends that I used to party really hard with, like the two of them got engaged to each other, and I haven't seen them in like probably 3-5 years. And I've told them like I'm sober now. And you know what's funny? Like other guys too in that group were like sober because like of how hard we went. Like one is an actor. He had to get sober because, like in the acting role, in the acting community, if like he couldn't act anymore if he was too drunk and like too high and stuff. But yeah, like it's great. And the problem sometimes is I don't see how it's gonna. I cannot be shaken by somebody taking that against me. Like I don't know, like. I don't see a situation where somebody will use that against me that I'm in recovery. Like, like.
For me, like, I'm not ashamed of
Yeah, I'm not
being
ashamed at all. Like,
I'm not.
No, I'm not
Anyway,
ashamed.
Yeah.
but it's
And-
like,
And I think it's also good. It like keeps you in check and accountable.
Yeah.
don't
You tell
forget
people,
it,
yeah.
because then it's going to come up again. But like, I'm not ashamed. I'm not ashamed of being an addict or an alcoholic. Like, I didn't choose for that to happen to me. I'm not ashamed of some of my behavior. Of
Yeah.
course I am,
Yeah.
but like the fact that I'm an addict and in recovery, no. And I'm actually really proud of being in recovery. It's one of the hardest things a person could ever do. Like, I don't know if anybody understands that. I live my life by just putting it out there. It gets like exhausting, like because people like kind of want to know, or they're gonna like assume something about you, and it just gets exhausting.
We understand it. The other people, even if they're like partiers that are hard,
Why can't you just stop?
like my friend Greg, I told him, and he was very supportive, and I've known him a long time. We did a lot of crazy stuff together, a lot of Allman Brothers shows. He was the one that carried me into the one where it was the last Allman Brothers show, 3 sets.
Yeah.
And I don't remember.
But
I know he carried me in. He told the bouncer. We knew the security there. He said, "No, I'll keep an eye on him." And they wouldn't have allowed anybody else. I passed out. I slept for the first set, and then the second 2 sets. I remember, and everybody at the Beacon Theater in that section looked at me and they're like, "Wow, you recover fast." Because I was dead, and then I was like, "All right, here we go," and with no substances to help me wait, I passed out, woke up, but he was like, and then I told him my whole story about lighting myself on fire, and that was when I was barbecuing, and like you guys laugh,
Richard Pryor,
and it's understandable. And he was like, "Oh my God,"
they don't think it's funny
sometimes. and they're just like, "Oh my God," And I showed him the scar, and it was like, but, and I get that from other people you tell the story to. They do not understand, and people don't understand the recovery process.
Yeah.
You really have to, you have to understand, you have to be in it to understand that you can't, because they don't understand the relationship you have with people and, what you have to do. And it's like at the last second, or if you switch plans or you got to take a phone call or this or that, it's like.
That's what, this leads me to my next questions. Like, what's the importance of dating in recovery to date somebody who is also in recovery? Like you warned that earlier. Yeah. Katie, I understand the reason of being, to relate, to have somebody who understands what you go through, but is that truly necessary for you to be with somebody?
I think it's a person, but I don't think it's like truly necessary for me, maybe, but I feel like that would be really beneficial for me. But I know plenty of people in recovery who had spouses that still drink or still smoke or whatever. I think it's like an individual thing, but I just realizing in this interaction kind of made me realize that the people I had the most connection with in the past, I never really looked at it as like, oh, it's because they understand addiction, they have their own problems. And it's really hard for me to relate, just explain myself, or I feel like, how are you going to ever really understand where my head is at if you haven't been there before? And for some people, maybe that's not necessary, maybe, but for me, I realize that it just makes my life, if I'm going to be in a relationship, which I don't even know, man, but it just makes it more of a connection.
It would be easier.
It would definitely be easier.
They would understand if you want to be alone and sometimes you need your space, whatever. I know I do. I'm not dating anybody, but I don't know. If I was, it would be much easier for someone in recovery to date someone in recovery, and then to date someone who wasn't. Just because I like the women a little crazy. That's just my private. No, and I'm just saying,
just a little crazy.
I don't know, to me,
you're a little crazy. If you're an addict, we're all a little crazy.
So, to me, you gotta have what you can take, because some batshit crazy women, that's just that.
Yeah, they're out there.
Or men, if you're for you. But for me, I need a little crazy just because to me it adds spice. Yeah. Because I dated girls that were just and we had fun. Yeah. But there was
too bland.
I don't know how to say they were. Not to say how they were I guess normal.
Earthlings.
Or and it was I was I want you to do something bizarre to just keep me interested. And, no, like that's what attracts me to you know, it's got to be a little bit of crazy, not because then I'll just like when it's too much, I'm like, all right, I gotta go.
When it's chaos,
When it's total chaos, and then it's like I gotta go. Like, I need a little bit of crazy.
Well, I realize with this happening too is like I think about the connections, how easy it is for us in recovery to just connect with each other as friends. Like,
yeah.
how it's just instant. Like we just understand each other on a level that you just aren't gonna get somewhere else. So when it's a relationship like that, I mean, there's intimacy that comes with that. That I just feel like for me, I can't imagine getting that with someone who doesn't come from the same place as me in that way.
No, I get it. This is because you put yourself. You're definitely revealing your addiction and stuff. It's like putting yourself out there and being vulnerable to a certain level. And I'm not actively looking for like, somebody who is in recovery. But funny enough, the last woman, 2 or 3 women that I got involved with were dealing with some type of addiction. One was in recovery. The other one that I had like a relapse with, that, by the way, I didn't disclose that to my audience yet. I'm going to make a special episode for that. So yeah, to recap, so there was a girl that I met at the tea house. She happened to be struggling with also alcohol, and she also went to the same inpatient as I did. And that was funny. We hit it off. And we went on a date one time, no alcohol, fun, Then we're supposed to meet up a second time, but it didn't happen. The next day she calls me that, she had a drink the night before. She had a bad time, and I, offer her to take her to the movie that day to change her mind of the fact that she relapsed. Little did I know she showed up where I was supposed to pick her up, drunk, wasted. And she told me she had to stop to pick up a bottle. And I was not ready to see her drunk and wasted at the time because she was dealing with stuff that I don't want to disclose here. So I let that happen. Go to the liquor store and she picked her bottle up, and, on the way to the movies, it was clear that she was not going to be able to go to the movies. So we didn't do that, and we started talking. And when we started talking and she shared what was going with her, I felt so much like I was overwhelmed by like emotion and overwhelmed by like empathy. And I was like taken apart by the things she told me. I was like, oh wow, I was not ready to listen to that. And her bottle was right there, and I took a swing of it. And basically, that swing, like it was just that one night, but like the consequences of me drinking, basically, that I was like, oh, I paid too much attention. I was too concerned with the days that I lost. I went to like a depressive state for 3 days because I was like, oh, I'm a fraud. I have a podcast. I need to go to like now AA. And tell my truth that I realized I need to go to the group and share that, and all that overwhelmed me. And I was just in bed for 3 days straight. Didn't even go to work because I didn't want to deal with that. I didn't want to deal with like, having to come forward or like having to lie if I wanted to. And
it can be judgy.
Yeah, and I came with the conclusion that, you know what? I'm not going to count my days anymore. Like, it happened once. I'm sober still, but if people ask me, I've been in recovery for almost nine months now. I've had with one night stints, if they want to ask me what happened, but like, I'm not going to count days because I noticed that I gave too much importance to my day count. And when I lost that, it took me out. But once I snapped out of it, I felt the same way that I was the day before it happened.
That's great. You bring that up.
Yeah.
I don't count days anymore. I have the app.
Mm-hmm.
Like I used to always every day, what am I at?
Yeah.
And now I glance at it every so often, and I know that I'm in the 8th month, not pregnant, but yeah, that would be with me. But the 8th month, and like I just know, and every so often I'll glance at the app to see where I'm at because I think it just comes to people like when they're going to stop the count. I don't know. Like I never like in the beginning I needed that to know.
Yeah.
Because at the beginning, but now
we were talking that with your sponsor like the other day. He had 3 years, right? Or sober. Then he went on a stint for a week and he had 39 sober years straight. And himself, he hesitated between saying 39 or 42.
He does 39 and
Does he say 39 or 42?
39.
But
he's old school.
Yeah.
He's so to me,
to us it's 42 years.
To 43. To me, with you,
yeah.
What happens in 2 years?
Yeah.
Oh no, Betty, you're. I mean, it was like one little thing. I mean, if it went on for a month, then maybe all right. But to me, like it depends on the way you think about it. I would think you went out for one day.
Yeah.
All right. So, but you're not. But yeah, there were consequences to it, and you learned.
Yeah.
And all of that. But
at the moment, I cannot claim that. I understand it's just at posteriori that you know the effect of that day. I understand that. I have to reset my day count, but
they also brought that up with the peer recovery coach.
Yeah.
Like if you relapse, that doesn't mean that you can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
Well, I know for me,
that helps.
With the importance of a day count isn't like, I had this many days. It's that I need to care that I continue that streak. I need to care that I don't break that streak. Doesn't matter how many days it is, because then why not? Like if I don't have this incentive to keep every day behind me, then I'll just try something today. And that's my mentality. Like I need that. Know it's not really about the accumulation of like the number of days. It could be 2 days. It could be a million days. It's I need to keep this streak going. Because otherwise, what's going to stop me from, I'll just do it right now. And then I'll stop tomorrow. And like, this doesn't count because this is at a party. Like, I know how my head is in the mental gymnastics that it likes to play to get me high and drunk. And I have to have something that I'm going to.
No, I think that way too with you. But like in the beginning, I was like 52, 53. I mean, seriously, with the one day at a time principle that I love. And now I've expanded that to everything.
Yeah, one day.
I do everything one day at a time because relationships, friendships, whatever. And I'm like, all right, well, let's see what happens tomorrow. But yeah, at the beginning, it was like, and even with the beginning with AA meetings, they said 90 and 90. I did. Because I go overboard. Yeah. I did 180 and 180. But now I go a couple of days a week, not too many. But I'm so busy with
other
recovery
stuff.
Helping people, service, doing that, and to me that we'll get into it, but the whole thing is keeping busy.
Yeah, definitely. And I know for me, just going back to day, did you lose that amount of time or something? I think that's sort of the problem with day counts come in is are you back at square one? No.
Yeah,
but it kind of, I feel like AA, it's not just, and it's funny that you said that they are judging about a lot of things, but for me, when I've relapsed and gone there, I've always felt really embraced, and relieved to tell them that. But I feel like it's I was sober for almost 3 years. Me now, when I relapsed and all that, clearly there was stuff that I didn't do, and I talked about this in the last episode, but I'm not back where I was when I got holy crap. I was homeless. I was all this stuff, and it's not, and even this time around, I've stumbled a little bit. And that's what I like to refer to it as. I still count my days as after each stumble, but it's not the same. And I was telling you this the other day, my family, I can tell because my family can tell. They know what it looks like when I'm not trying, when I'm just showing up and whatever. And they can tell each time that I've faltered that I'm still in the game. And that's what matters more than anything. Is your head in the game where you want to get better? And I feel like for you, I don't think that one really.
Now, with me and my mom, we, like, when I stumbled that one day, she doesn't know the circumstances. Like, I don't blame the person that I try to help, but I resent them for sure because I wasn't expecting to. I thought like at least she would tell me that if she's drinking, that she is, I will not have shown up. But hey,
She was drunk.
she was drunk.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what to do. That's not something I planned for. And this is the part of recovery. Sometimes, like you want to help yeah. And, talking about helping somebody, like, that's definitely one of the situations where I try to help somebody to my own detriment and I got burned,
Well, that could go back to what we were talking about with dating people in recovery. Like that's something that can happen with somebody in recovery.
Yeah.
That's a risk, but that's, that they might relapse. And then what is that going to do to you? And I dated someone who wasn't, I can't be with someone who's in active addiction. Like, I can't.
Well, what if they relapse and you're with them?
Yeah.
And then you don't relapse, but they don't want to come back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They want to stay in that. Then, but the other thing about like,
You can inflict upon
if you
yourself.
were to date someone in recovery, I think the thing that would be the best is the trust. More so, like I'm hesitant telling somebody that's not in recovery, anybody, guy, girl, whatever, nowadays, whatever, but I'm saying, to just open up, like I don't trust anybody. And I got a friend, and I open up and I tell things that I was like, even like driving home and I'm like, wow, I said that tonight.
No, because like, it's natural because like, I mean, it's natural that people in the rooms or in recovery gravitate toward each other because we are revealing stuff, deep stuff about, they know like deep stuff about us, like very vulnerable stuff about us because we like in treatment and trying to get over our demon and opening yourself to others they see you vulnerable at your worst, like, so there's a certain comfort.
I think someone in recovery is much better to do that and just like lay it all out there because they'll understand because not everybody's the same in recovery or they're what happened to them, but they understand what you went through.
Yeah.
Because it may be not the same, but it's similar. Whereas someone else who doesn't have active addiction, alcoholism or whatever, they're going to be like, wow, he really did that or she really did that.
And it's not even necessarily the people who aren't addicts like coming at it from a negative standpoint where they're like, that's terrible. It's just like they just cannot wrap their heads around it.
Yeah, because going back to that thing with the fire, lighting myself on fire, and there are other stories that I did. And it's like, and sometimes they don't understand the recovery process.
Yeah, definitely.
Like what you have to do when you need, like my mom was like, you're quiet. And I'm like, she's like, something about it. I'm like, no, I'm just no.
Yeah.
I'm like, and she knows I always was chill but then when I was drinking and I got a little, a little bit more. And then she's like, yeah, you're back to normal. But she's like, are you okay? And that, but I know it's a concern.
But even with me and my mom and my parents, when, that incident happened, they thought that I was drinking before when I wasn't drinking at all because I was, I was trying to have a social life back. And, that's when they come up with stuff like, I just lost not patience, but I realized that they don't need to get it for me to be sober. Like my mom knows what she knows. Like if she cannot get it, fine. It should not affect me personally. I don't need her approval. I don't need her support. Right.
You'd like it, but if she doesn't,
I would like it, but if she doesn't give it to me, if she, she thinks other things, like, if I go out with the guys in AA, I come back at like 11 or midnight and she thinks that I'm drinking, that's her. That's not me, as long as I'm honest with myself. But like, yeah.
Family, like, I feel like for me, I can never really hold it against them when they're like accuse me of anything. Cause I'm like, I've lied so many times to their face about it. Like, I don't know if that's your situation, but it's like, where they just like it's really hard for. But this is when I like first came back, like like why would they believe me? And like and I feel like that's also a sign of I don't know where it's some people can be coming at it where they're like trying to get you. They're just trying to like they want to criticize something, and then there's you to criticize. It's very easy, but sometimes they're like genuinely concerned. Like they feel like they have to say something because last time I didn't say something, and look, but this happened and this happened.
I
It's
think it's
complicated.
a sign of love.
Yeah.
Because even though you might think it's not, like, why are you going up to the 7-Eleven? You could just make a cup of coffee here.
Yeah.
Why are you going to buy beer?
Yeah.
And or you going to do something. I'm like, Mom, unless a bottle of vodka falls out of the sky, I'm not going to buy a bottle of vodka, or whatever. But but it's like, and I know it's love because it's like they really want the best for you. But sometimes it's like my sister drives me nuts. She's like, no, that drives me nuts. But we're very tight. But like sometimes she's like, because I would always tell her in the beginning, I'm going to a meeting. I don't tell her that much. And she's like, you all right? Are you going to a meeting?
Meetings,
like,
yes.
not necessarily.
Yeah.
I'm like, but I still go. And she's like, because you used to tell me all the time. I'm like, well, that was part of my recovery, saying to people, this is where I'm going, this is what I'm doing. She's like, oh, because now when you don't say it, I get
worried that you went to back
I
your
wonder
own
what
way.
you're doing. And I'm like, Joe Marie, calm down. I'm like, still, and I said, when I start, because I've lost now 52 pounds from July 25th to today.
Yeah.
And so I said to her, I said, well, when my weight goes back on, then I'm drinking and doing steroids.
My sister literally will ask me, it's like, are you up to no good? And like, because my sister, when I first came to Seafield, she literally would drive me here and then I'd like, bye, and like go off and get drunk and whatever, like, which I feel terrible about.
Yeah.
And like, I would say I was going to a meeting and I wasn't going to a meeting, so I mean, it's just like, they're coming from that place. And also it's not all, I mean, I think it's out of love because you have to love someone for them to kind of have the ability to hurt you, but like you hurt them before and like they need to protect themselves. Like they're afraid they're going to get blindsided.
Yeah.
They don't get blindsided by your behavior again.
Also, I think also, they feel like stupid a little bit. They feel like you fooled them.
Yeah.
Like they feel stupid. They don't want to be fooled again.
Exactly.
Then they think that they enabled you. And then they get, like my mom and my sister and my dad, the family, they're like, well, did we? Then they think back. I'm like, you're going to drive yourself nuts.
Yeah.
I'm like, you did not enable me. This was Rich. Rich wanted to drink that full bottle of Jack Daniels. You did not, and they're like, well, we never said it. I said, but if you said anything, I would just laugh at you and say,
do whatever I wanted anyway.
Leave me alone, and that's why I haven't done one amends. I've tried to, and all my friends have said, shut up.
Yeah.
And my family has been like, I've tried to, and they're like, actions speak louder than words. They're like, you've done so much with action. We can see the change. Where now I'm like the voice of reason in the family, which is crazy. They're like asking me for I'm like, you really want me to tell you the truth about that?
Funny.
Nobody in my family is asking me that. It's like, I don't think that's ever.
No, but I'm just saying, like, it's like, and they see a calmness and this and that. And I didn't, and I've noticed it myself, I'm not like watching myself all the time, but I see a different to me, whereas,
I say. All right, last question before we part ways. You guys are graduated soon. I'm graduating soon too, from this program, the group, right? You don't know yet.
I mean, me will be less than 10 years.
Less than 10, yeah. So what if you were to comment on the whole group therapy thingy that we've been here for almost 6 months or something? What are the improvements you could make? What are the thorns and pros and cons basically? What was very beneficial for you that you wish you could keep? Because we're gonna graduate this thing pretty soon.
I still coming here. They wanted me to leave a couple of times. Not out of being wrong, but they're like, you're good.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but I need this. I'm like, well, because I'm not mandated.
Oh yeah, I'm not mandated either.
If I was mandated, they probably would have been like, you're done, goodbye, leave us.
Yeah.
But a couple of times they've said, you get, and I'm like, no, I like doing it. I like the social lubrication of like interacting with people, and AA gives me that, but this is like tighter, and it's cool. Like they just stepped me down to 2 days. They were they said you could, and I was like, let me just come.
Yeah.
2 days, and then so, I like it because I like talking. And you do too, so I'm like, that's why the two of us are like, and I get a kick out of some of the people in the group. No, not they're just entertaining.
Yeah.
And it's like they bring a different perspective. I love Will in group. I love McKinley. They just crack me up. And who's the other? Dave. With because he was like, because when Erica did the thing about the rules, Dave's like, you really wrote potty on here. Like, because they had the rules and you couldn't do this, you couldn't do that. And I like interacting with Amanda, with Joan, with all the people,
Shout out to all people in the group, by the way.
In the group,
You're all doing well.
I don't think you'll get a more interesting, like a consistently interesting group of as at like a rehab.
No, because you have someone new and it's a different story. AA is AA,
The thing with AA, and I'm an AA person, but I hate how there's no crosstalk, and like I think that's what's so
that's what actually there's no
that someone's gonna call me out on my shit like right away. And I'm gonna hear them, and we're gonna talk to each other and figure out a solution for something. Like you don't have that with AA, and like, which I understand, like there's a reason for that. There's so many different meeting formats. I'm like, can't you have like a cross-talking meeting or something?
Yeah, if there's like a big book day or like,
what's the best is that when you hear these stories of the people in group and then something great happens.
Like
like
girl,
Amanda.
Yeah,
she got full custody back.
Yeah.
And when that happened, it was like,
we all share like we love, like
we were all so happy, and it was just like unbelievable because she went through a lot of crap. So did and the same with Ashley and Nikki and whatever. But when they come, because they want to do it and they don't think it's ever going to happen, and then when it finally does, that's great. But that's with children, but with us in recovery, when someone's like, all right, it's now 10 months or whatever, and you're truly, or like someone comes in really broken, and then they're like, well, now I got a job. Now I'm doing that.
Now
I love seeing, I like seeing
the evolution of that,
We're becoming invested in each other in a way that, like, I feel like you kind of have to go out of your way for with AA. Like, you have to kind of like raise your hand and tell your story every single time you're there, which I obviously do anyway. But, or you have to like go and like specifically socialize outside of AA, like in numbers and stuff, where I feel like with group therapy, it's just like it's all happening right there. Like
and also in group therapy, what I like is I don't like the kumbaya, like the kumbaya atmosphere of AA, that everything is awesome, like then
like the Lego movie.
Then you will see the light. I mean, I love it. I still go to AA, but sometimes like you're full of shit. Like everything cannot be done.
You just reminded me of the Lego movie I watched with my nephew. Because they were like, we gotta watch it again. We gotta watch it again. I watched it 42 times one night. I was like, enough already.
I think it depends on the meeting.
But it was like everything is awesome. There's the one thing.
I mean, like they're like, God is good. Like, just follow the program. I'm like, okay, cool. But like, the advantage with a group therapy is like that crosstalk when somebody like it's very important. Like I can tell where people are at, where they see it. But when
other people will call you out, like
other people will call you out.
Like the first time I ever did group with Joe, there was 2 women.
Oh,
the one girl was saying, "I don't like making decisions. I like my boyfriend making all the decisions because if he's wrong, then I can blame him." And then she's like, "I'm really upset and this and that, and I don't understand." The other girl in the group goes to her, "Can I give you a bit of advice?" And she's like, "What?" And she's like, "Grow the fuck up." And then she started crying. And then Joe was great. Joe's like, "Break."
Yeah, and that was Rich's first day.
That was my first day. I was like, I can't wait for tomorrow, Joe. What are we doing tomorrow?
I forgot about it.
So you get that type of stuff. It might not be what you want to hear, but like with AA, they're just like sometimes but they're great. I love the interaction. But the one thing I don't agree is with when you relapse and then they're like, oh, you got to start your day count again.
Yeah.
Well, that's your day count, like, allows you certain privileges.
But it does.
It's not even just like, okay, we're going to start your day count over. It's like, well, now you can't speak for this amount of time, and now you're not going to do this for this amount of time.
It does, but I think, and I'm not trying to go against AA, but if someone relapsed, I would want to hear them right away. If they're back and they're, you know what I mean? Like, and I understand they want united, but like, wouldn't you want to hear what brought that person when it's raw, that they just relapsed? Wouldn't you want them to be the next speaker?
Yeah.
So then
share though.
So they could share, but you can't talk.
Like share in 3 minutes in Africa. About like the.
But if you talk like 20 minutes, you know, and it's like, well, this is what happened. This is what I was thinking, and whatnot. I don't know. I mean,
I second you on that.
I see both sides
because, like, if you realize and you need to share with the group in AA and you only have 3 minutes to share, like it's not.
I can see
in my
both
experience,
sides.
Most time, if you're sharing, I relapse, they're going to allow you to go over 3 minutes. Like, honestly, like since I've been in AA, but it depends on, everything's different. Some groups are like super strict. Some aren't. Like, I know my home group, like, there's a lot of new recovery in that home group, and it is not all kumbaya. And some people don't like that. Like, some people don't like newcomer meetings. So like, this is depressing because everyone's sharing how this sucks, you know. But like, it's raw. Like, exactly. Like my home group, I chose that as my home group because it's so raw. But like, you know, it's every AA sometimes, and I like this about AA sometimes. There's another group I go to. It's like it's very spiritual. Like, I don't understand how people can do, and I could not do AA when I was not spiritual, and everyone's different, but like, it's very spiritual based. And like, I feel like when people are like, God, it's like they're called to testify. Like, and it's that kind of an atmosphere. And like, sometimes it's not what you need, like in that moment, you know, like, but some groups are like that. And sometimes I want that. And you know, it's.
But it almost seems like everybody, I mean, I'm religious, you know, me, and I'm not trying to say it different, but like some people, when they finally find God, then they get sober. Because, I mean, but it's not a cult, because some people, I know some people are like, I don't like the God aspect and this and that. And Evelyn in Seafield was like, well, make it a honeycomb.
Yeah.
You know, make it something, make that your higher power. Yeah. You know, if you have the God problem, but like, and it's all different people's different levels of God to do. And it's not like saying that, you know, you're not like convincing people. You're talking about this is what worked for you, you know. And I just think I love it, you know, because she's right. Some meetings there aren't spiritual and others are.
More
spiritual. You know.
Yeah, and I try to do both, because when I first went into the first AA meeting I went into as a stone cold atheist. So I was like, get me out of here. They're talking about Jesus too. She said, how did they ever hear about Jesus? At that meeting, they're talking about Jesus. And then I was more open-minded, and I made like my higher power, which I think my higher power still kind of is like my higher self.
Right.
Like, that's what I looked at it, like my higher self, be your higher self. And now I'm like a pretty, like, I'll use the word God and stuff, you know, and like, AA clicked for, like, once I reached out to be in AA, once I was at that state, like, it really clicked for me in a way that I feel really grateful for. But so to the point where I just don't it's like, I feel like you can't get, like, when they're talking about the miracles and all this other stuff, like, I don't know how you could see that necessarily unless you are a very spiritual person, because it's just kind of part of the program. And that's why I love smart recovery. Because I'm like, there needs to be some smart recovery. Like, I've talked about this the last episode, so I'm not going to go into it too much. But like, smart recovery saved my life when I was that like stone cold atheist, because other people need somewhere to go. Yeah. And I feel like I as much as I love AA, I feel grateful to love AA, because not everybody loves AA, and there should be something for them.
But that's the thing they were saying in Pure Advocacy with the recovery coach, that, you know, you want to like pass these on to different, you know, and like, whatever works for you. Yeah. Like I always said, you know, sitting in the corner, standing on your head, eating peanuts works, then that works for you. And you do it. Yeah. The reason I say, because I remember when I was a little kid, I always asked my grandfather, what are you doing? He's like sitting in the corner eating peanuts on my head. And it was like kind of like saying, leave me the fuck alone.
Yeah.
You know, well, I don't know if it was leave me the fuck alone, but he was like, leave me alone. No. But you know, but I think whatever works for you.
Yeah, whatever.
And that's why it's good to have smart recovery, AA, and all that. And then the other one on the negative thing, but I love AA, don't get me wrong, is when they get upset when you bring drugs into it.
Yeah.
Oh, I won't even go to meetings like that.
Because there are people that need this meeting.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, you can't talk about that.
You are addicted to alcohol, sir. Like, I don't like that. I'm like, you're an alcohol addict.
But,
like,
but almost everything leads you to alcohol.
Yeah.
And that's the credo.
Yeah.
If you believe you're an alcohol or alcohol took control of you and led you, whatever led you to alcohol, then that could be.
But those guys, yeah, that's true. They're still loud, but there are dying breeds.
Old-timers.
Yeah, they're dying. They're not gonna. Sorry, it's gonna be bleak, but they're not gonna be around much longer for us to care.
Well, it's because I literally feel like that attitude has killed people. I feel like people have gone out and died because of that.
Because what if that was the one meeting where the guy, heroin addict or whatever it was, it's like, I need a meeting. And they're going to AA, and I got a problem with heroin. Oh, you can't talk about that.
Yeah.
And then the guy goes out and gets a hot bag and dies.
I just don't understand the logic behind it. I think it's such a traditional, like, archaic way of looking at addiction. Like, you're addicted to alcohol. Like, there's no difference between alcohol compared to anything else. It's all the same. That's why we all can relate. It's all interchangeable. And 12 step groups will have, like, cocaine anonymous, this anonymous. And I'm like, you can insert, literally the big books for each group, they just insert a different word there because it's exactly the same. And I feel like the attitude is definitely changing because I know, like, my old sponsor said, like, she used to be one of those people, and then she saw people were just dying, and they had to, like, let people into AA that had heroin problems. And eventually people realized, like, oh, this is the same exact thing.
Like, all the steps and everything. NA, OA, Gamblers Anonymous, everything. It's an addiction. Overeated, I don't know. They have a group probably.
Yeah, there was one in Massapequa I went to.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And I mean, everything. Sex Anonymous, you know, I mean, it's all about that whole addiction.
Yeah, obsessive compulsion thing. Yeah. It's all the same, like, you know. But in terms of group therapy, I guess we were just talking about this the other day. I feel like, I'm not sure what the solution is or if it's even a problem, but, like, there's just so many people there for different reasons sometimes. Like, some people don't want to ever, like, some people are mandated and they're like, this fucking sucks and I'm just going to sit here and be an asshole. So I don't think it's necessarily going on right now in our group. I don't want to play like that, but I've experienced it in the past. And, like, their head is at such a different place than people who are like, I need to stop doing drugs, like, forever. Like, I need to stop drinking, like, forever. And then there's, like, a conflict that comes from that. And then I know for me, like, a big part of why I'm stumbling is because they have people in there who have medical marijuana cards. And that's my own problem that I need to address myself.
Did you ever hear that they had fentanyl lollipops?
Yes. I heard about that before.
Lena was telling me this in group last Wednesday. It was telling the whole group last Wednesday that, like, down in Colombia. And I was like, but that's Colombia.
But they had them
I'm
here.
like,
like, years ago, before anybody cared about fentanyl, they had fentanyl lollipops. Like, I remember that. Yes,
because it gets into your system. They still use it. My brother was an anesthesiologist. They still use it because it gets you numb and it gets you the quickest. But you know, so I like Lee. Someone had said something to Lee about group, like. Why don't we split them into different groups? Like, this group is just for alcoholics. This is just for heroin addicts or drug addicts. This is for CPS. This is for mandate, and do it. And I was like, don't. I was like, because it adds flavor. I never met.
I get so much out of each other.
I really never met Nikki, Amanda.
I know.
Ashley, any of them. If it was like, okay, you can only go there, and I think it's all the same. Yeah, they have other things. You know, the women have other issues, but it's all basically you're trying to come up with a solution.
No, true. I felt like a little bit out of place at the beginning when those ladies who had to deal with CPS cases were talking about CPS, and I was like, okay. Because in our group, when something bad happened, they take the whole time, and rightfully so, kids are involved. That's very important.
Yeah.
But then I will get out of group and be like, what did I learn today? Not much at first. But then the more you're familiar with those people, the closer you are, the more you see their situation, the more you adapt their situation to yours. So, okay, I see what they're going through. You start relating a little bit. You start saying, sometimes you even apply some of the solution to yours when you face a problem that's similar. You're like, oh, okay, yeah, I see. Like, she is in a bad relationship. She saw those signs. I'm seeing those same signs into this person. Okay, I'm not going to get involved with that person because I know some people in my group where it led them to. So you can do that kind. You always get knowledge and information by even looking and listening to somebody who's not necessarily in the same situation as you.
Probably more, actually, because it's like it's just a whole different perspective, like to look at something and you're kind of forced to examine it in group.
They had said they had thought about it, and I was like, please.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's not the big group. Yeah, I mean, he's one of the top counselors.
I mean,
but I'm saying don't ever, I hope Seafield never does that because I think it adds flavor and I'm not, but for lack of a better word, but I'm saying it adds you learn, something in depth. Yes.
And I remember I went to rehab that was structured. This is inpatient, so it's not even something you could do in outpatient, but inpatient, it was almost like you had a class schedule where you could sign up for anger management and this, and that was auxiliary to the group meetings, so it's you could kind of pick okay, I'm going to go here. You had electives, basically. And I thought that was helpful. But, I mean, we don't have, in our group, I think I had mentioned something we could have, topic Tuesdays or something like that. But, not to split us up.
Because sometimes within our group, if one topic gets dominant, then other people feel
left out.
Nothing, that they're not important or they can't address their thing. That's why I don't know if a big group is effective for an hour.
Yeah, it needs to be there.
Maybe 5-6 people for an hour. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if you have a big,
if
people in a group for 1 hour, and
no, it's a
little bit of chaos.
Yeah.
You like that?
All right, guys.
If it was a whole group of women and me, that would be perfect.
All right, guys. Thank you very much for coming. All right, guys. I think we just hit the hour mark. Thank you very much for being my guest. Definitely. I don't know how I'm gonna name this episode yet. Maybe I don't know, but we should definitely do it so often. And
a lot of flavor.
A lot of flavor. All right, guys.
Flavor. That's what we do.
Boy,
you'll probably get more people in because they'll think it's Flavor Flav.
All right, guys. I will see you for the conclusion. Yeah.